What's up, weirdos? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Felicia, and today we're going to be talking about the newest movie in the Conjuring franchise that just came out yesterday, The Nun.
Forgive me, Father. You're the sin I'm about to commit.
We're here to investigate the death of a nun.
The Abbey has a long history. Not all good.
So The Nun is a James Wan creation, but the screenplay was written by Gary Dauberman and was directed by Corin Hardy. It's the origin story of the nun from The Conjuring 2. So let's start with what I liked. I thought it was really scary. Like, while I was watching, I was literally just saying, oh God, every 5 minutes. And then when it ended, I was just like, I was really scared. It was hilarious to me. So it's sort of this gothic horror movie that was filmed in this old scary castle in Romania. And the nuns are really scary. Like, all of the horror stuff in it, I was like, wow, I am fearful right now. There is a lot of tension and a lot of jump scares, but a lot of the jump scares were really fun and I really enjoyed them. I also thought it was really cool to have Taissa Farmiga playing Sister Irene, the soon-to-be nun, because she has these visions that are very similar to Lorraine Warren in the Conjuring movies. Lorraine Warren was played by Vera Farmiga, who is actually Taissa's older sister by like 21 years, and I thought that was just really nice. I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that. Also, I'm not normally a fan of Taissa's acting. In American Horror Story, I always find her very bland, but in this movie I thought her acting was great, and she really fits in this sort of period piece gothic world a lot better than I think she works in like a more modern, present day horror thing. Now let's talk about what I didn't like so much, and that is the script. My main problem with the script is how they used the character of Frenchie, and I liked this actor fine, but all of the lines were like, he had these like one-liners that were sort of the comedic relief of the movie. And I totally agree that horror movies need a lightness to them. They need moments of relief as a, you know, palate cleanser or whatever, but this felt wrong. It felt very out of place, and I was like, come on. Like, every time he had a line, I was like, no. Like, for example, one time someone's like, blah blah blah, you French man, and he's like, I'm French Canadian. And it was like supposed to be this really like funny thing, but I was just sort of like, no, that's not right. That's not right for this movie. I'll also say that the music didn't really help the script sometimes. Like, a lot of the times the music was fine, but sometimes there would be this like big swell of dramatic music and it was like placed over a really bad line, and I was just like, oh no. For the scare, I'm giving it a 4 because I was scared almost the whole time. Maybe it's because I went by myself, but I was like very scared. I was literally saying, oh God, every 2 seconds. Like, I was like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. The gore, I'm gonna give a 3. There's like a decent amount of blood and like demon nun stuff that's pretty scary and pretty gory looking. And for the cheese, I'm giving it a 3. I think this movie really wanted the cheese to be a 2, but unfortunately with the sort of bad comedic relief lines and cheesy music and stuff like that, it's a 3. And I think if it was a 2, this movie would have been so much better. Despite my complaints, I overall had a great time watching the movie. I thought it was really fun. The jump scares were really fun. I'll say it wasn't as satisfying as like the first and second Conjuring films, but overall I still really liked it. And now let's get into some spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie yet and you want to pause me, that's chill. Otherwise, just keep watching. Now I'm just gonna roll through some of my favorite scenes and or images from the movie. One, I loved the Hallway of Crosses. I know it's a little haunted house, but I really thought it was like a cool image that they used a lot in the movie, and I really enjoyed it. The second one I really liked was the snake that came out of the dead boy's mouth. I'm not convinced that dead boy was like super necessary for the plot of this movie, but I did like the snake thing. And the third thing is, so when the nun is drowning Sister Irene, like, I feel like that is sort of a cheesy and a little bit too long sequence, but when Sister Irene puts the blood of Christ in her mouth under the water and then spits it in the nun's face, I was just like, now one of the scenes that I didn't really like is, so when Sister Irene is like possessed by the demon for like a hot sec, she grabs Frenchie and she's like telling him that he doesn't matter and like no one would miss him when he's gone. And that just felt so out of character for this demon. This demon feels like one that like really, you know, terrorizes its victims, but not really concerned with their like inner emotional life. And that's sort of what that sequence felt like. And I was like, this feels strange to me, and it just didn't feel like it worked. I also just sort of thought that the blood of Christ thing was like a little bit of a stretch, and the fact that it was like somehow magically in the castle already, like I was like, I don't know. Something I found confusing about this movie is that no one can hear each other in this castle. Like they would be in pretty close proximity in these hallways and somebody would like get scared and be like, ah, and like something would happen and then no one would notice. And I was just like, why is no one like running to their friend's aid? Like no one seems to be hearing each other, and I'm pretty sure like castles are kind of echoey, and I was like, why is no one listening? It was really weird. My favorite line in this one I think was actually one of Frenchie's and Frenchie says, what is the opposite of a miracle, father? And I was like, oh, that's sort of like the whole movie like tied up in a little bow. I thought that was a good line. The worst line for me also started with Frenchie, and so they find the blood of Christ, yay them, and then Frenchie goes, holy shit, and Father Burke says, the holiest. And I was like, oh no, 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 no. Like my eyes rolled out of my head down the theater stairs. I was like, that does not fit this movie. That is not the world you have created for us. I was like, no. Anyways, once again, despite all my complaints, I did have a great time watching this movie. All the scares are really cool. I really liked like when the hanging woman falls down on his face and it's really, really scary. I really liked when Father Burke's like buried alive and then somehow the demon's like in the casket with him. Let me out! I was like, yeah, like that was cool to me. I thought there was a lot of really interesting stuff, and a lot of like the nun imagery worked so well that I just thought it was great. And yeah, I have complaints about the film, but I definitely think it's worth checking out. I think it's worth going to see in theaters, and I think that's all my thoughts, guys. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a nice scream. Bye!